What is up? Welcome into today's episode of Pushing the Pile. Mike Renner, Kyle Long, jam-packed show for you guys today. We have the first off the ball segment coming up. Going to talk a few headlines. Backyard football is back. Tua had some interesting comments on Brian Flores. Jamar Chase may not play this season. And we're also going to hand out some NFL awards. We're going to do the normal NFL awards that you guys all know and love. We're also going to give out some Pushing the Pile.
Yeah, I'm excited about introing these awards because it's something that I think will be fun and you guys will be able to play along with. You guys are going to have candidates every week that you flood our mentions with, guys that you think should be winning X, Y, or Z award. We're going to intro those awards, but it's nice to be here for episode 2 with Mike. We're stoked to get into this thing. And you mentioned the Tua conversation. It's like we have a T check today. We're checking in on a little NFL T with Tua. But some other breaking news as well, right, Mike?
Yes, of course. And today's show brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more. As you see, I got a nice little desk in front of me, so you guys don't have to see my thighs on this one.
I want you guys all in on the meat.
Kyle wants you guys.
Wednesday, it's hump day. Let's go.
But we got backyard football. The big news from yesterday, the most important news, the backyard sports franchise that you guys hopefully know and love. If you're too young to have played it, well, you're in luck. It was a massive part of both of our childhoods.
Yes.
It is officially back.
Yeah, it's back. It's so much fun. And there's so many of these types of games that are like relaxed versions of the games we know and love so much. I think about NFL Street, NFL Blitz, NBA Jam. I'm going to put backyard sports into this category. And here, our tremendous producers, the guys in the back of the room here, have thrown up the roster. This is the lineup. And we are going down the
This
roster
took me
today.
back.
This is like the blast from the past of all blasts from the past. So for our kids now, my 2-year-old, she'll be able to play this game in a few years. So hopefully this will be her intro to organized sports. Who are you most excited about seeing making a comeback here, Mike?
I mean, Pablo Sanchez was the undeniable GOAT of the backyard franchise.
The Mahomes of backyard sports.
But Pete Wheeler was like the Josh Allen. The guy was a 5-tool player. That guy had it all, but maybe wasn't the most eloquent of kids, shall we say.
He's a little bit of the Forrest Gump situation. He can run by the entire SEC kickoff coverage unit, but sometimes you got to tell him which base to go to on the baseball field.
But see, I was a baseball guy. I never played the football version, but I'm excited to now. But in baseball, it was Pablo Sanchez, Pete Wheeler. That was like tier 1.
Yep.
Ahmed Khan, Keisha Phillips somehow was in like a tier 2.
She's almost tier 1.
Yeah, those were your top end players. If you were playing a game, you wanted them on your team. After that, I used to love Mikey Thomas, power hitter. He used to drop bombs. I believe he was a lefty, if I recall.
The great thing about this franchise is you find a way to mix up your roster. So every single time you have a new batter, let's say we're playing baseball, every batter that you face is going to present a different set of issues. I think it's a good problem-solving technique to get these kids working on, okay, this is this guy or gal.
Exactly.
It's fun. A little bit of strategy involved, but big shout out to the backyard sports. If you guys have a favorite athlete from backyard basketball, baseball, football, go ahead, put in the chat, tweet at us, whatever you got to do. We have our favorites. I'm a big Keisha Phillips guy. She was like my Frank Thomas.
She's a big,
she's like my Francesca Thomas out there, Keisha, dropping bombs. So big shout out to backyard sports.
The biggest thing that I sort of realized going back and looking at this was how the diversity and inclusion of it. They had a kid in a wheelchair. They had the spectrum there. They were way ahead of their time.
Ahead of their time. But also one thing we pointed out when we got to the office this morning is that, yes, there was a lot of inclusion and diversity, but the nerdy kid actually still.
The nerdy kid stunk. And they drew the Kawaguchis like they were 1940s war propaganda, which was
Kawaguchi
tough.
Baller, though.
So I think we'll get an update on some of those things, but safe to say we're very excited to see backyard football come back. All right, next up on the first off the ball segment, Tua. And some interesting things to say about Brian Flores. I'll quote him here now. If you woke up every morning and I told you that you suck at what you did, that you don't belong doing what you did, that you shouldn't be here, that you haven't earned this right, and then you have somebody else come in and tell you, dude, you are the best fit for this. Like, you are accurate. You are the best whatever. You are this. You are that. Like, how would that make you feel listening to one or the other?
I'd feel like a pro athlete, because as a pro athlete, you're never right. And I remember I had John Fox as a head coach. Great dude. A guy I'd love to go have a beer with now in retirement. But I remember he said, as a player, you're either bitching or you're bitching. You're either bitching because you're doing not enough during the preseason, you want snaps, or you're bitching because practice is way too long and hard. And I think this is one of those things where you get a guy like Brian Flores, who obviously comes from a certain tree of coaches that does things a certain way. They're regimented. They're very black and white. Even Tom Brady could get the business in the team meeting. And Tua is, obviously a little bit different than that. And when he inherits Mike McDaniel, the messaging is different. But I can tell you one thing, you're still being evaluated all the time, regardless of how they hug you, how they dap you up, what they say to you in the morning. You're being evaluated. That's the league. I'm really sorry that Tua had to listen to that, allegedly, but it's part of it. The deal when you go into the NFL. You're going to be called names. You're going to be told things every day that's going to challenge your manhood, make you question whether or not you want to be there. But I'm glad Tua came out the other side. Look, he's had a great deal of success with Mike, and we're going to see that flow through into 2024 as well.
Yeah, to me, this isn't like Brian Flores, bad guy. This is like a different strokes for different folks situation.
Strokes, bro.
To me personally, I probably would have responded better to a Brian Flores type of coach than a Mike McDaniels type of coach. I don't need someone to tell me, I can do it, rah, rah. I need someone to not let me get complacent, to make me lock in 24/7.
And you know this. I love my wife. She's from the tri-state area. And those of you who are from the tri-state area understand that there's a certain way that people go about their business up there. And if you worked in the city, you have it even more exponentially. You're not in a rush, but things are getting done. There's lists. There's no BS. It's kind of like if you date a girl from outside of Atlanta, Georgia, she's going to make sure that, things sound great. There's a certain southern comfort about them. I just feel like B-Flow's got that Northeast, no BS. This is how we're going to rock. And, it's going to be better for all of us. And McDaniel's kind of got that little bit of South Beach, south of the Mason-Dixon line going for him. And I think it helps his offense now. Didn't fit Tua then. But
I do think the job of a coach also is to adjust your coaching style to what that player needs. And quite obviously, Tua was not the guy to respond to what Brian Flores is going to give him. So I've seen him flourish, but I'm not like a picking sides guy here. Flores obviously said he got asked the question. He said, it made me go back and reevaluate a little bit. And I think I think it's a happy story all around, right? It's not a tragedy.
If he was a bad guy, he wouldn't have his defenders flanking him at the podium.
Exactly.
We got to hear his side of the story, and honestly, it sounded like, if you fire an agent or something, they say, "I'm all about the relationships with the players. I wish him nothing but success in the future, and I'm worried about my guys right now." And that's where B-Flow's at, and that's the league. It's a this league moment. Things are said, and more often than not, things are kept in house. And Tua went on a podcast and he had some things to say. So here we are covering it on Wednesday morning.
Yeah, I don't think there's any.
We're moving on to
exactly.
You should too, brother.
Exactly. All right, last thing to get to here. Jamar Chase.
Yep.
Ochocinco stated, Chad Ochocinco, if you don't know who I'm referring to by just saying Ochocinco. He said Jamar very well could sit out the entire season if he's not given a new contract, I guess within the next 2 weeks here, because that's how close we are to the start of the season.
Yeah, and for these Bengals who are looking, we're going to talk about the Bengals later in our show, but you got to think about Jamar Chase right now is understanding that he has played himself into getting a big deal. Now, obviously, there's 2 years left on the deal for Jamar Chase. And when I was with the Bears, I remember I went Pro Bowl, Pro Bowl, Pro Bowl with an all-pro in there in my first 3 years. Now, I had a 4-year deal with a 5th-year club option because I was a first-round pick. But what I had to do, my job at that point, I talked to my dad at great lengths about this. He said, you have to find a way to get a new deal. Now, the deal may not be as spicy, as sexy as some of the other guys are going to sign after you, but you can sleep easy at night knowing that you're going to be taken care of. Your family's going to be taken care of. You have that security. Jamar right now going out, he's going to be making like $1 million this year, 4 in total if he were to reach all his landmarks. That's chump change compared to what he could be making if he were to get a deal now. Now, I understand that the market's going to change, Mike. I understand that. But as a player, you understand that today could be the day that I go out and get my knee rolled up on and I'm done playing football.
Well, I think the thing is he sees how the Bengals right now are treating T. Higgins, right? T. Higgins playing on the franchise tag this year, didn't get a long-term extension, basically kind of getting his ability to get that $100+ million deal held hostage by the Bengals right now, and saying, I hold all the power here, right? I know I have 2 years left, but I can force the hand because that's how good I am. Now, I will say, from a pure financial perspective, him staying healthy this year with where the cap is going with these Amazon and Apple deals, overthecap.com has the cap to be projected to go up over 10% over the next 2 seasons to almost $300 million by 2026. Now we'll see how the Sunday Ticket lawsuit impacts those things. But the $33 million top of the market deals right now that he's probably looking for are going to be 35, 36 in a few years. And obviously you want financial security right now, but I do think there's a world in which he could be costing himself. From the Bengals perspective, it makes sense for them to sign him right now.
He could cost himself upwards of 15%.
Yes.
Annual earning. But I mean, at the end of the day, I would give 15% away just so that I can know that I'm taken care of for the next 5-6 years. Yeah,
the numbers we're dealing with right now in the NFL, like top of the market contracts at quarterback, edge, wide receiver, you just sign it. You just want that because $100 million goes a long way. It's $100 million.
Thank you, brother.
Exactly.
This is my 401k.
I think you want it right now. Exactly. All right. We'll get to some NFL awards here in just a second. That was your first off the ball segment. We got MVP, Coach of the Year, Comeback Player of the Year, all coming up next.
College football is back. SMU at Nevada on CBS Sports Network.
Let's get to the big ones. Right off the top, MVP. We'll go down the list here. Last year,
football wasn't the big one?
Someday it will be. Last year was Lamar Jackson. Won your MVP presented by Invisalign, which I wonder if you got a free little...
Invisalign, I could use that.
Yeah, I actually had it. It helped a lot.
Crooked, my G. Shout out Invisalign. Holler at your boy.
All right, who's your MVP?
My MVP is none other than Patrick Mahomes. And
shock.
I mean, it's not a shock. That's why I put him there. You know, he won the last 2 Super Bowls. He's a guy that's looking for his 3rd, I believe, MVP. He is as good as we're going to see in our young lifetime while our minds are still able to consume and understand what's going on. He makes everybody around him better. Not only that, the Chiefs went out and they got the roster better. It just makes sense to me that Patrick's going to find a way to run the table. He's going to just flex his muscles again this year and win the MVP. You add 2 of these deep threat receivers. You retain Travis Kelce. You've got a good thing going in the middle of that offensive line, so you can do a number of different things, whether it's run the ball with a good success per clip, or you can throw the ball around the yard because you're Patrick Mahomes. He's the MVP. He is the class of the NFL.
Odds as it stands right now, Patrick Mahomes is plus 500. Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, both plus 900. CJ Stroud plus 1,000. Lamar Jackson plus 1,200, rounding out your top 5 there. I'm going to go with one of those top 5 guys. I'm going to go with CJ Stroud. And I am a little biased here because I got to interact with him on the Bleacher Report draft show way back in the spring. And I was floored by his all-around football knowledge. And I've interacted with a number of NFL quarterbacks, and a lot of times they know their role, right? They are experts at offense. I was floored at how much he knew how everything interacted on a football field from even a defensive perspective. He was talking about how edge rushers need to have a power element or else they can get locked up. And I'm like, how's this guy know it? Like, how was this guy? I didn't know that when I was his age, right? And I love ball.
He's done the threat assessment a million times in his mind. He is impressive. He seems wise beyond his years. Obviously, 100%. He's talented.
And so last year,
sophomore year though, Mikey.
Sophomore year leap is what I mean. The Patrick Mahomes sophomore year leap to MVP. Lamar Jackson did it. 4,100 yards last year, 23 touchdowns, only 5 picks. If he improves on those numbers, and should, the situation around him this year is nice. I liked what I saw from Kenyon Green, their guard, coming back this year, a former first rounder. I think he's going to have a good offensive line in front of him. Obviously, an elite receiving core. Sky really is the limit for this Houston Texans offense. And like, people are going to want to give it to him. If it's close with the guys like Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes. Now, if it's close with guys like Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, that's obviously all first-timers right there. But I think the fatigue gets at Mahomes.
And you got to think about the cast around him, to your point. They've retained some guys,
elite cast.
Added some guys, but you go get Danielle Hunter on the defensive side. Now that's going to put your third down rate a lot higher for these the defensive side of the football for D'Amico Ryans. They're going to be getting off the field. C.J. Stroud's going to have more opportunities to be in this offense. Bobby Slowick's going to have more opportunities to develop the run game and be able to hit on those play actions down the field. C.J.'s awesome, a lot of fun to watch.
All right, Coach of the Year.
My Coach of the Year.
Last year was Kevin Stefanski. Won the award in a coup, might I add. I did not think. I thought D'Amico Ryans was like shoo-in, and then Stefanski ends up winning it. This year, the odds: Matt Eberflus, Bears head coach, plus 900; Jim Harbaugh, plus 1,000; Raheem Morris, plus 1,100; Matt LaFleur, plus 1,400; and D'Amico Ryans, plus 1,400. Those are your top 5.
For me, it's the dude that was on the hot seat, really, in my opinion, last year. It's Matt Eberflus, and it's a guy whose defense was the reason that he has been retained, the way that this team plays together, and now you get a huge shot in the arm with all the offensive pieces they've added, in addition to DJ Moore. And those guys on the offensive side of the ball, now they've got a great quarterback. They've got Keenan Allen in there, Roma Dunze out of the draft. I just don't see a world where that team doesn't play great complementary football. And the last time we saw a Bears team have really good complementary football was Matt Nagy's 2018, where he won Coach of the Year. I was there at the NFL Honors when he took the award, and I just remember having a real understanding of this was a team that had a defense and offense that played together, and they were definitely beneficial to one another. I think that's the situation in Chicago this year. People are going to be, I don't know how, but they're going to be surprised by how good the defense is. You and I know they have a good defense, but it could sneak up on some people. I like Eberflus. That's my Coach of the Year.
How many awards are you going to give out to Bears?
Probably just one today.
Okay, just one. Good. Solid. I thought at least you were going to give out a second one, but we'll see.
You said
when we
light
get to
glazing, so I'm just going. I'm edging. I'm edging the Bears.
All right, my Coach of the Year, and I think I maybe teased this on the last podcast, but I think Jim Harbaugh.
Yep.
It sets up everything in terms of the big turnaround. Last in the AFC West last year, top 5 pick, but a team that I think everyone didn't think was a top 5 or bottom 5, team in the NFL last year. Everyone had it as a playoff team. So like an easy sort of turnaround from a talent perspective. I think obviously Jim Harbaugh is a fantastic coach, and what he kind of unlock with now a much improved offensive line, in my opinion, with Justin Herbert back there. I think they will win double-digit games, make the playoffs at that point. He gets the nod. I also think Shane Steichen could be it, because I think this Colts offense with Anthony Richardson coming back
It's on my short list.
And he got snubbed last year. Not necessarily snubbed. They obviously didn't make the playoffs, but to go over 500 with Gardner Minshew
With a Gardner.
that was impressive. And I think they win double-digit games as well and make the playoffs. So one of those two. Those would be my 2 favorite bets.
And we
if
love
I were
the
to be
style of play down there in Indianapolis as well. They're going to be black and blue and guys every week. It's going to be
We'll get to.
It's going to be a physical nightmare.
We're giving out an award to the Colts here a little bit later. I am, at least.
Okay. So you've done your Coach of the Year, Jim Harbaugh. We're doing
Comeback Player of the Year.
Comeback Player of the Year.
Last year, Joe Flacco.
Last year.
Not sure how. He played like 6 games.
Like,
it was great for 6 games.
He's elite.
Comeback Player of the Year, easily every single year, one of my least favorite awards.
Yeah, and there's
because sometimes it's like
shoe-ins.
Sometimes it's like he just came back from not being good.
Yep.
And it's like, how is that coming back? He just stunk for a while.
Well, they give the Ed Block Courage Award in 32 NFL locker rooms every year, which is awarded to the guy who came back from circumstances that were really tough. I won it one year because of an IR thing, but really the award is like, you got hurt really badly and you're not dead. Thanks for being back. Here's your bronze helmet.
Or in DeMar Hamlin's
a lot of
case,
respect for the Ed Block Courage Award and their foundation. But, this award, in my opinion, goes to somebody who went through some things, not necessarily terrible things, but one guy, in my opinion, is by the name of Joe Burrow, who went through some stuff in Cincinnati. And we talked about Jamar Chase at the top of the show and his impact on the offense. And I think they need to find a way to get him paid because Joe Burrow is in revenge mode. He's got his revenge hair going on. And I've seen it too many times with Joe Burrow. I saw it in person with Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow at Arrowhead. And what was that, 2021? I believe they won the Arrowhead Invitational and went on and lost to the Rams. But it was the Jamar Chase show. You couldn't put enough people on.
I think it was
Jamar
technically
Chase.
2022. 2021 season.
It was after New Year's.
Yeah. I was at Circus Swim. That was a good time.
Confusing. People think that the 85 Bears won the Super Bowl, but it was the 86 Chicago Bears. But yeah, Joe Burrow, comeback player of the year. I think it's business as usual. People will pick up the dribble with him as fans. It'll be easy.
Joe Burrow plus 250. I'm going with the guy who's the odds-on favorite, though. Aaron Rodgers plus 175. He's going to have an uphill climb because anytime you got sports writers voting on this award, they're going to hold it against Aaron Rodgers. His takes on COVID, his takes on Pat McAfee. They just hate him. They love to hate him.
There's people in the NFL circle that are annoyed by him.
He is annoying.
That's not good.
We don't have to sugarcoat it.
He's so good at football, and that's what we're here to cover. We're here to cover football.
But that's the thing, is he's so good at football. And Jets fans, sports writers, the taste of any success, and they'll go to bat for a guy like Aaron Rodgers. And I think they'll have some success this year. I think they win the East, truly.
They're so reloaded up front. And they're inheriting that defense from last year. And same with the Chicago conversation that we've talked about. It's like, this is going to be a complimentary football team. This is a team that played with one arm tied behind its back last year, and they were still in the fight every week. So now you add to that a Hall of Fame quarterback, first ballot Hall of Fame quarterback, and a first ballot left tackle as well. Yeah. You're looking at a different situation. So I like your pick there.
All right, Offensive Player of the Year, presented by the Microsoft Surface, by the way. Last year, it was Christian McCaffrey. He is once again the odds-on favorite at plus 750. Tyreek Hill at plus 750 as well.
Brandon doesn't sign.
Yeah. CeeDee Lamb at plus 1,000. Justin Jefferson plus 1,200. Jamar Chase at plus 1,200. That one's maybe not updated after the recent news. But those are your top five. Who do you have, though?
I got Tyreek Hill.
Okay.
I got Tyreek Hill because it's another year under the tutelage of Mike McDaniel. It's another year being a champion for Tua Tagovailoa. He is the safety net in this offense. You think about Tyreek Hill and you think about him taking the top off the defense. What I think about Tyreek Hill is he's running people till they turn their hips, and he's shutting it down, showing hands, getting the ball, and then finding a way to break in or out with his stem. You see Kelsey do it across the middle of the field. Tyreek Hill is just a little Olympic gymnast version of that. I think he is as easy a target to find on the football field. Tua is going to find him more often than not, and the numbers are going to be ludicrous again. I hope he gets 2K, and here we go. It's the Tyreek Hill show once again in South Beach.
Yeah, difficult to argue that one. I'm going to go a little further down the list, though. I'm looking at Saquon Barkley at plus 1,400, going from what was a bottom five O-line pretty much his entire career with the Giants. Like, even when they had good players, they were never healthy, to now what is a top five O-line, even without Jason Kelsey and the Philadelphia Eagles. A situation that, made DeAndre Swift 1,000-yard back easily there a season ago. And he's fighting for touches with Kenny Gainwell and Will Shipley. He's going to get every single touch in that backfield. They are not going to have an RBBC there in Philadelphia. Because of that, I think he goes 1,600, gets a lot of targets in the passing game, and puts up a nice little season.
I don't disagree with you. And I think their tackles are such a big part of that because of the things he likes to do from the bounce game. When he's inside runs, he can bounce it. He can break contain. That's what he likes to do. And you need an athletic tackle with really good hands and good savvy technically to be able to not get called for holding every single time that running back bounces it. Lane's got some of the best feet in football. Mailata as well. So I really think that pairs well with Saquon. I like your pick there.
I'm going to give a dark horse too. Josh Jacobs could be the same in Green Bay. I watched this Raiders offensive line. Their game against the Bills last year was the worst run blocking I've seen in an NFL game. If you haven't seen it, go back and check it out. Josh Jacobs in that game had 9 carries for -2 yards. He was hit over 3 yards into the backfield on over half his carries.
Stop.
It was unbelievable. Go back if you haven't seen that one.
I gotta watch it.
It was truly the worst run blocking
Raiders Bills.
So going from that to what they have in Green Bay should be a nice little upgrade for him. Defense Player of the Year. Last year, Myles Garrett, the favorite now because he's gotten kind of snubbed the last 2 seasons. Micah Parsons at plus 550, thinking they're going to give him kind of the, hey, you should have won it the last 2 years, or should have been in the mix the last 2 years. Didn't get it. He's the favorite now. TJ Watt at plus 650. Myles Garrett plus 650, Nick Bosa plus 850, and Max Crosby plus 900. Those are your favorites.
I know there's a lot of smack talk amongst these elite defenders once this thing comes out, and some of them have siblings, and some of them have close teammates that go to bat for them. There's not a football player in the NFL that's better at their job than Myles Garrett is.
You're not wrong.
I mean,
you're not wrong.
I could put him for the next I could put him for the next decade as like I could predetermine my defensive players of the year. It could go to Myles Garrett every single time. I love Myles Garrett. I feel like, I was talking to Leger Douzable yesterday, 2 days ago, and we went through a bracket of guys we'd rather block against. And it was, would you rather block against Max Crosby or Von Miller? Okay, you'd rather block against Von than Max. Okay, would you rather block against – and it all the pyramids finished with Myles Garrett. There's nobody you want to block less than Myles Garrett. Defensive Player of the Year, MG.
It's hard to go against. I mean, he truly is. It's like fatigue to go anywhere else because on a play-for-play basis, no one gets schemed up for more than Myles Garrett. Like, you put every single resource on every single third down to not letting him dominate because you just can't block him. They truly can't. He's a physical freak on the
I'm
likes
not taking points away from Sofia Vergara because she wins the biggest babe award every single year for the last 25 years.
It's a great way to
give her hardware when she deserves it.
It's a great way to put
it. Same thing, bro.
I'm going to get into the minds of voters, though.
Okay.
And they're going to want team success matters. They don't want to give it to a team that stinks. And they want numbers. They want a guy who's going to load up on sacks. And to me, and they also want a guy who's new, right? They trend towards the guys who have that breakout.
Fresh
to me,
blood.
That's Aiden Hutchinson this year.
Because
he has that Jared Allen thing where he never comes off the field, right? He plays 1,000 snaps a year, and he's going to walk into sacks. Like, he just because you play that many snaps, you're there
Volume.
every single opportunity to get one. He's there, has the motor to do it, doesn't take plays off to clean up those sacks. So he's going to get 13 to 17 sort of in that range sacks. He's going to be on a defense that's much improved, that's going to get talked a lot about in the Detroit Lions.
it's a hard place to get D linemen blocked is in Detroit. Man, you can't hear yourself think. Those fans are crazy. And for those of you at home who have never tried to block a D lineman with some crowd noise and listen to a snap count or operate under silent, that's tough. And in Detroit, it's even harder because that noise is just reverberating off those walls in the ceiling.
Yeah. So, and plus zero rushes against right tackles. When you got the right tackle bump, it just makes your life easier. So
What are you saying? The right side is less talented than the left side?
It's by design, yes. They put the less talented player there usually.
Lane Johnson.
Okay, we could say exceptions all day long if you would like, but it's a hard and fast.
Argumentative on purpose.
It's a hard and fast. I mean, it's an argument that's worth having.
Okay.
Because I don't think you should. Because defense is all counter basically by putting TJ Watt there every snap. JJ Watt was there every time on the left side. Aiden Hutchinson's there on the left side or on the right side every time. So like Von Miller was a right tackle guy his entire career, right? Like you put those guys so that they can feast.
Me and Mike Remmers know that.
So you need to have that guy on the right side too. It's not like it's the lesser side.
I won't hold it against you, bro.
Okay. All right, couple more. Offensive Rookie of the Year. Obviously, we all know who this was a year ago. It was my MVP pick, CJ Stroud. The odds, favorite? You want to guess who the favorite is?
Marvin Harrison Jr.
It's Caleb Williams at plus 140, which is insane. Plus 500, Jaden Daniels. Plus 750, Marvin Harrison Jr. Plus 1,100, Bo Nix. And plus 1,300, Malik Neighbors. Those are your realistic candidates right now that Vegas sees. Who do you think?
Help me out, because you're giving these odds, and I come from a world where we this is
Good.
Don't talk about.
You're not you're not allowed.
But now I'm learning this, and I'm sure there's some people in the chat that are trying to stay on board here. But you say plus 250, Caleb, plus 140 for Caleb. So that means you put $1 on Caleb, you stand to win $14.
$1 plus 140 means you win $1.40 if you place it out. There you go.
So now I understand these odds.
Yeah.
All right. This is a kid who never played these games.
So it's based off of plus is like $100 is your bet. Plus 140 means you win.
Got it. Understood. So it goes off of a unit being $100.
Yeah.
Okay. Excuse me. I'm sorry for having questions, but I want to make sure I'm on the same page with Mikey boy here.
Yeah.
Big brain, meathead. We're trying to figure this thing out. Okay. So am I going to go first? Offensive Rookie of the Year?
Yeah.
Offensive Rookie of the Year, Marvin Harrison Jr.
Oh, we finally agreed on one.
You look around the league every year and you watch the rookie class, and it's obvious that some guys have had it figured out for a while and they may have been able to play this game at a younger age professionally. Marvin Harrison is the first guy that I think of in that category. Obviously, I'm a big Caleb fan and we could talk all day. But when you talk about looking smooth, in and out of breaks, looking comfortable with the ball in his hands, not a lot of body catches, tremendous hands, tremendous eyes, and a guy who grew up in the game. I really, really, really put a lot of stock into these guys that grew up around the game, because I know from a personal experience that does have its benefits. And it's not that, you get to pay for the best coaches in middle school and junior high. It's that you're just around the game. This is life. He understands the life of an NFL player better than anybody that he's going to be playing with. And obviously Kyler Murray is going to get him the ball a lot.
Yeah, I think we see a rookie year from Marvin Harrison Jr. that we have not seen, even from a Justin Jefferson, from a Jamar Chase, a Puka Nacua, in terms of the attention that opposing defenses are forced to pay him. Because I saw the same thing in college. I saw a collegiate receiver that was game planned for more than I've ever seen in collegiate receiver in terms of clouding that side regularly with the corner going under, safety over the top, pretty much how you have to treat a number one wide receiver in the NFL. You were seeing in college, because in the collegiate game, there's game planning for guys is you do what you do. You don't really care about the other side. You just don't have the time, right? Yeah. You don't have the time to install all this stuff in the week the way NFL teams do. And I saw that in college, and now in the NFL, it's like it's going to happen. One, because they don't necessarily have the greatest 2-3 there. I like Michael Wilson a lot. He's not going to strike fear in my hearts in terms of if I'm doubling Marvin Harris Jr., what he's going to do to me. And two, because he is just that elite from the jump. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be the greatest receiver of all time. I'm saying he is as polished as you've seen at that position.
Some guys just come out with it. I mean, I always reference offensive linemen, but it was Quentin Nelson and Zach Martin are the two guys at the top of my list that I think of that were ready. And it all comes from the tutelage that they had
from Notre Dame.
Their past, and it's Harry Hiestand. And for those of you guys who don't know, Harry Hiestand, legendary offensive line coach for the Irish and the Bears. And there's something about these guys that have great coaches and a great understanding of what they're going into. It's a seamless transition. I think for Marvin Harrison, it's going to be the same thing.
And defense player of the year. Again, another Texan last year, Will Anderson. This year, the odds are
defensive rookie of the year.
Yes. The odds are his former teammate, Dallas Turner at plus 400. Latu, the first defensive player off the board this year, plus 450 for the Indianapolis Colts. Jared Verse, plus 1,100. Byron Murphy, plus 1,100. The Seahawks DT. And then Quinyon Mitchell, plus 1,200. Your first non-defensive lineman. It's obviously an award that kind of skews towards the front seven. And not even front seven, just sacks. Outside edge guys. Sometimes tackles at linebacker, you'll get it. But linebackers are getting more and more difficult to kind of transition to the NFL quickly with all the offenses they're throwing at you. So who do you like?
My big pick is Latu.
He's good, man.
I mean, a guy who comes with a tool belt full of moves, pro-ready rushes. He's got the length to bother guys and get to their near point sooner than they can get to him. He's got the bend to dip around the edge, and that length plays into the run game as well. But he has a physical brand of football that he plays. And I really think with the things that they're going to be doing at the Colts this year offensively, it's going to give him ample opportunity to get after the quarterback. They're going to be playing with the lead, I think, early on in the year a lot. And they're going to take advantage of a healthy Anthony Richardson, as you know, as well as others. That means that these defensive ends get to, and if you can't see me on your podcast app, I'm pinning my ears back right now.
Oh,
that means
I didn't know what that was for a second.
Go get the friggin' quarterback. You know what I'm saying? That's what he's going to be doing a lot. It'll set him up well to have Defensive Rookie of the Year award.
I'll say this about Latu. If he came out in the 2022 NFL draft, so that was the Trayvon Walker year, where he went number one overall. That year, my board was Aiden Hutchinson number one. I would have put Latu number two in that year's draft. So that is how. Overall. Yes, that is how good he is as a prospect, in my opinion. Also, how down 2022 was, and how nasty this past year's class was in 2024, where I believe I had him 11th. So that's how just like talented this class was at the top. But he is a darn good football player, and the likes of which. His NFL readiness, they don't come out because he had such a unique path to the NFL. He spent 5 years in college, not by choice. Like, he was a guy that, from a talent perspective, could have come out after 3 years, but he had that neck injury that cost him 2 years of college, that even after his big breakout in 2022, kind of forced him to come back because no one was going to take that risk on him that highly right after that injury. Prove his health, did so, dominated this past fall. And so that's why we're talking about him as like, oh, he's a guy who can right away be an impact player, just because those guys don't usually stay in college that long to develop the way he did. All that being said, I'm going to disagree with you, and I'm going to go with Nate Wiggins, the Baltimore Ravens quarterback, because one, he had the best preseason game I've seen from a cornerback, like I said, since I've been doing this. Yes, he's not even necessarily penciled in as a full-time starter just yet, But from what I saw in that game and what I saw back on tape at Clemson, where he was the best cover corner in this draft class, that was not why people were worried about him coming out. It was his tackling. It was his size when he came 173 at the combine. But my gosh, the guy can 4.28 with the pulled groin at the combine. The guy can fly. He knows how to play the cornerback position. And what I saw was a confident rookie. And that's what it takes to play corner right off the bat in the NFL. You can't be hesitating. You can't be worried. Nate Wiggins was not. And because of what I saw, I think he gets 5-6 picks this year. And I think he gets himself a D-Roy.
And all these things you're talking about with Wiggins, it's whenever I think about the teams trying to improve, why are they trying to improve? They're trying to win the Super Bowl. Who do you have to beat to win the Super Bowl? You got to beat Kansas City, particularly you get an opportunity to play them at home. The cast of characters in that secondary and in that front seven for Baltimore, it's a really good group. But you add Wiggins, takes the pressure off Wiggins, but also lets him grow with these giant redwoods of talent. You know, you think about the guys that are going to be playing behind him and have his back. It's going to let him play with a tremendous amount of confidence. He'll have a lot asked of him throughout the course of the year because of some of the matchups they will have, particularly in the playoffs if and when they do get there. And as it pertains to playing the Chiefs, he'll have to shut down one of those speedsters. I'm sure of it.
He can do it, and he can do it, and he can do it. All right, we're gonna get to some. Those are the real awards. We're gonna get to some pushing the pile specific awards after the break.
Don't go anywhere.
All right. We're going to start off with this one, and I'm going to have to maybe explain a little bit. It's called the Edger of the Year.
I know.
Some past winners I'll just give. Last year, you could give it to Jahan Dotson. 2 years ago, Gabe Davis. The year before that, Sam Darnold was an award winner. So you know what I'm saying. It's the guys that everyone thinks are going to break out, that give you that taste in the preseason. Kenny Pickett was a finalist last year for it, but then never comes to fruition. You know what we're talking about here. Who's your edger?
A little bit.
Who's your edger of the year?
My edger. I wrote down a few, and I
race.
told myself that I would make a final decision here. It's Trevor Lawrence.
Ooh, I like that. I considered that one.
It's Trevor Lawrence, and here's the reason. He has all the talent in the world. He has a coach who has won Super Bowls and written books and is a Zen master, like Phil Jackson type, but they can't seem to figure it out. Some weeks it looks like the Jacksonville Jaguars can beat anybody, and some weeks it looks like they can't even beat themselves if they had scripted the plays themselves. Trevor Lawrence is a guy that I root for. He is, when he throws the football, you say that is what God intended when he invented football, and he just can't figure it out. I'm tired of getting edged by this team. I'm tired of getting edged by Trevor Lawrence. I'm going to put him in there as my edger of the year.
It's a very valid point. And as much as I want to think maybe I'm more optimistic on him and want to think it's the situation he's in, the talent around him, because what he likes to throw. And if you go back to his time at Clemson, he loves to throw those vertical outside balls, right? Back shoulders, goes. They haven't had a back shoulder go ball winner, right? They have these tiny guys.
Intermediate
They have
guys.
these slot guys and Christian Kirk. Was Zay Flower? No, not Zay Jones. Zay Jones. Gosh, just over the course of his career,
without his arms.
Yeah, that was impressive. That's probably the most impressive play of his career.
Still don't get it.
But Gabe Davis, they want him to be that. I don't know if he's going to be. Brian Thomas, much more, is that type of wide receiver. So he has some guys in that mold this year. I want him to kind of get his recognition because I think he's outplayed what his numbers say, what the record says. But I'm with you. If this keeps going on, he could win the edger. If it keeps it at this pace,
there's only one thing that people care about is: did you win the Super Bowl?
Yeah,
or did you go and fight with the guys who won the Super Bowl? And I give a lot of credit to the Brock Purdy's and the Niners, but the Jags have to find a way to get these wins in crunch time.
My edger of the year prediction: I'm gonna go Christian Watson, the Packers wide receiver, and this one pains me to say. Obviously, if you see the shirt. I just think he's going to get supplanted for playing time and kind of ends up as this, I hate to put this on him, but like Marquez Valdez-Scantling type in that he's great deep. He's tough to stay with. The man can absolutely fly, but his ball skills are suspect. He doesn't fight enough at the catch point. And when you have guys like Romeo Doubs, Jaden Reed, I'm blanking on the other wide receiver
Romeo
there.
Dobbs.
The Virginia. Who's the Virginia cat that I'm blanking on right now?
He's got a great name, by the way. Dontavian Wicks.
Dontavian Wicks.
God, that was.
They're going to get the lion's share of the targets there in that offense. They just don't see him as a complete enough wide receiver to be out there every single play. And so for everyone hoping this is the breakout year, I just think he ends up as kind of this 30, 40 catch guy,
He's without a
500, 600 yard guy. That
so many guys.
Exactly. So going to keep edging, unfortunately.
So he struggles with ball skills. Go figure he won your edging award. Okay, here we go. Moving on.
Franchise quarterback additions is our next award. Not really an award, but who is going to join the tiers of franchise quarterbacks this year? Last year, I think we had C.J. Stroud, Jordan Love add to that mix. What names do you see joining that tier?
Kyler Murray. Are we okay with the? How's your initial reaction?
I think he may have already been. When you get the contract he got,
Yeah, but that's just kind of how they're paying quarterbacks, right?
Yeah,
and there's tiers within that. Tier.
Okay.
I think this is the year that people fall back in love with Kyler Murray, and I know they had a taste of it when he was healthy. He looked good for the time he was in last season. But look, this is a team that's building something. Their football team, they played good teams tough last year. You know, they bullied some teams at home and on the road. The Cardinals did. So I think Kyler Murray finds a way with this new offensive firepower with Marvin Harrison Jr. to be able to really launch himself into that tier 1 category. He's obviously the guy that you want to play with in Madden, but I think it plays out in the NFL this year in real life. Kyler Murray is going to be a guy that everybody thought he is who we thought he was.
Anyone else joining your franchise?
Sam Darnold.
No way.
That's a fun one.
That one.
Justin Jefferson said he throws soft ball. He's got a soft ball. I trust Justin Jefferson. The spit on, and Sam Darnold has been through the freaking ringer. The fact that you're not supporting me here is just.
I just gave Sam Darnold the Lifetime Achievement Edger Award in the chat.
Lifetime Achievement Edger Award. You know,
he's going to win it.
He's got a lot of time left. Okay, he's going to get a lot of throws this year. I can tell you that much.
All right, my franchise QB additions. I'm going to go Caleb Williams. I'm going to go Anthony Richardson as 2. Caleb Williams, I just think by the end of the year, you'll know he's that guy. Anthony Richardson. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be like a Josh Allen leap, but I think what you see from him this year is enough to say that's the guy for sure going forward. And then I'm going to say Bo Nix as well is going to join the franchise QB tier. I'm going to go on a little bit of he started 61 games in college, Bo Nix. He got better every single year, and he had 5 different offensive coordinators in his 5 years. He had to learn 5 different offenses.
Sounds like my first 5 years in the league.
For that guy to now be on a 6th, but for him to show the improvement that he did every single year, given those situations, the guy's just got the moxie and the mental makeup to be a dude. Now, is he accurate enough? Is he this or that enough? Is he attack downfield enough? Remains to be seen.
With the average depth of target that Sean Payton has him doing it, you don't have to do much.
Exactly.
You play the game within the game. You got 320 yards passing on 32 attempts, and none of them were over 10 air yards.
He went for the perfect spot for him to do it.
That's amazing.
So those are my additions.
I like yours.
The franchise quarterbacks.
I like yours.
All right, the Barry Sanders Calvin Johnson Award. We all know this one. You maybe won this one back 2016. When did you guys go like 3 and 13?
On my show.
This is your elite player disaster team. Who wins it this year?
There's a few names, and I empathize with all the guys on this list, but the one that jumps off to me, and it's every year he could win, it's Max Crosby.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
That's a multiple-time winner already.
They give him an X in his name every single time that he wins this award, and he's got like 4 X's in there now. Max Crosby. I don't know if you've ever seen it spelled.
That dude definitely grew up dirt biking.
Doesn't look right. Yeah. Metal Militia. He's got a Metal Militia bumper sticker on his badass truck. But Max Crosby, a nightmare. Nobody wants to play this guy. He's a physical matchup nightmare. He is an effort matchup nightmare. He's the leader of this defense, the lifeblood. As he goes, they go. The only reason that these guys are in games usually is because of Max Crosby. He doesn't leave the field. He doesn't leave the pocket. He's always around the pocket. If he's blocked for half a second, he's fighting back the other way. He's like a caged dog. You can't keep this guy down, okay? Max Crosby, huge fan of his game, and I think he wins my my award here for the Calvin Johnson / Barry Sanders award.
You were talking the other day about how difficult it is to bring it those last 7-8 games when you're on a team like that where there's just truly nothing to play for besides the financial prospects of the guys on the team, the financial prospects of the head coach. It's hard to bring it every time, and he still does. He still does.
And he does as good a job as any edge rusher as if I'm playing tackle and I'm playing against Max Crosby, Von Miller, any of these, really, really exceptional players, you're going to get help within the scheme, whether it be a tight end in line, a running back from the backfield. But one thing you don't realize when you get help, sometimes it does you a disservice because they get redirected by the tight end and they may cross your face really quickly. You're not anticipating the help you're getting. So with Max Crosby, he is as good as anybody with using the help against him, against you. And I hated getting help.
You hated getting help?
Because you're messing with my rep.
Yeah. I
don't know if you're going to be there.
I guess
I want you to be.
A tackle or guard? You hated
at tackle.
Both. Okay, yeah. That's what I was like. At guard, I was
no
like.
No help at guard, brother. You're just in there doing I'm just Johnny Bones Jones in these guys, okay, for 4 quarters.
Well, someone who does need help or who makes offensive line. Dexter Lawrence is my pick. Oh. You need help to block Dexter Lawrence. You're not blocking Dexter Lawrence one-on-one.
I'll take the slide.
He is the most underrated player in the NFL still somehow. But what he does at nose tackle compared to what every other nose tackle in the NFL does is just night and day. No one is better at their respective position compared to the rest of the NFL than him. He had 65 pressures last year. The next closest nose tackle is 23.
That's disgusting.
And just strong as can be.
Edge rusher numbers.
I see him against the best offensive lineman in the NFL. One arm, throws him away, makes him look like college offensive lineman. It looks like college tape with how much he big boys these offensive linemen at the NFL level. Truly a special player that deserves more due. And I wish if this guy was on the Eagles, he would have Defensive Player of the Year awards already. That's how dominant he's been over late. All right. We're going to go with the next one. Frank Reich Hot Seat Award. Frank Reich obviously was fired each of the last 2 regular seasons as head coach. He's on a heater, literally. Who's your head coach that you see not making it through 2024 here?
Mike McCarthy.
Interesting. I like where your head's at.
From a situational football standpoint, I think there's no time more than now that situational football is important. I mean, it's every single game comes down to clock management, game management. We saw the struggles that the previous head coach in Los Angeles had with the Chargers, cost him some football games. I just don't want to see it come down to that for Dak Prescott anymore. I don't want to see these historic offensive seasons with this great production from an all-star cast on offense be thrown out the window because a handful of things could be controlled by the head coach. Now, we've all liked Mike McCarthy in the past, obviously, go Pat, go. But the time is now. It's or get off the pot in Dallas. And you got to let somebody else get their hands dirty if it's not you.
See, I just think I'd be surprised if he lost it midseason. I'm not saying he's their coach 2025. I think there could be a big reset in Dallas after this year, especially if they don't make the playoffs. But I find it hard to believe that they would crash and burn to the degree where they're not in it. Because for him to get fired during the regular season, they have to be out of it by weeks 12, 13. Right?
So just to clarify, this is could be fired mid-season.
Yeah.
I'm thinking just hot. I'm just thinking it's hot.
Okay. It is hot. It is hot.
Brian Daboll getting toasty under there too. Okay.
Yeah, Daboll's definitely on the hot seat. I'm going, though, Dennis Allen.
Oh, yes. Okay, great.
New Orleans Saints head coach.
That's great.
One, I just think he's obviously missed the playoffs his first 2 seasons as the head coach. 2, you have Talia Safuaga and Trevor Penning flipping sides, by the way, from left to right tackle.
Ooh.
Both of those guys, they have flipping sides, which I don't know who was the brains behind that. But both those guys flipping sides to block for Derek Carr, a guy who we've seen what happens when he doesn't trust the offensive line. His average depth of target turns negative. He turns into a shell. He's like a turtle. Goes back in a shell and doesn't want to play the quarterback position because he just doesn't want to get killed. I think that injury he had that 1 year in Oakland really kind of set the tone for the rest of his career, unfortunately as it may be. He got really gun shy. And so for have a rookie tackle and Trevor Penning, who's been kind of a disaster in the pass pro,
it's just no bueno.
I think you just don't see an offense that is capable of, I think they could even be last in the South this year if that offense really goes in the tank, and it could.
If Trevor Penning uses his length and gets his hands on guys, he'll be okay. He will fight to survive at the right tackle position. But if he continues to catch, but when I say catch, I mean you put your arms wide and you go to give these rushers a hug, that's when you're going to be giving Derek Carr a hug and get him off the ground a lot.
I'm going to go off on a little tangent here, but Trevor Penning is the reason I worry about taking these project offensive linemen in the first round. You weren't a project. I actually didn't scout you, so I can't say. But these project offensive linemen in the first round, because when it's first round pick, he has to play. And if you're getting your ass handed to you.
He's got to be good.
Exactly. If you're getting your ass handed to you your entire first season, your confidence can be shot. Like you can legitimately set a guy back for the rest of his career in terms of just his mindset going into games can be a defeatist mindset because he went from blocking Northern Iowa guys to NFL guys. And so when the guy has to play, doesn't come on early, it can never come on, but then you're forced to start him for basically 3 years because of how offensive line play works, the development that it takes for those guys. And so they've been forced into this.
Swallow the pill and make it work.
Exactly. And I just don't think it's going to this year.
Swallow the wrong pill, boys.
All right, a couple more awards here. We have the Lee Corso Award.
Yes.
An award that needs not really any introduction if you've seen Lee Corso in the past few years, but it's the guy who it's like, we love you. We're saying this for your own good. It's time to hang it up. We don't want to remember you like this. Who's your Lee Corso Award?
Joe Flacco.
He was big at the end of last season.
I've met Joe Flacco a few times in the tunnel at some of these games when I was playing, and he seems like the ultimate dude that you want to go get a beer with. This award I'm giving to Joe Flacco because I want him to go play golf and get to Matt Ryan's handicap, which is like a +2. And I need him to start getting into the retirement thing. I think it'll look really good on Joe Flacco. This isn't an ill intent award. This is just
it's like we love you.
We
don't want to. Yeah.
Go enjoy yourself, Joe.
Yeah.
Go enjoy yourself. Go enjoy your fam.
And especially him, who's made like an ungodly amount of money over his career, but is now kind of fishing for I'm going to say pennies. He's still making good money.
Loves the game.
Let's not get it twisted, but to me, he hasn't reached the aspect of like if you saw, say, Aaron Rodgers turn into a journeyman, you'd be like, dude, just what are you doing here? Hang it up. Why are you taking backup jobs? I don't think he ever reached that level to where he can't take a backup job, but it does kind of suck if you're a Ravens fan seeing him just bounce around, especially to division rivals and still playing. Unfortunately,
a lot of these guys, man, that just make it happen for so long. And I mean, I'm in my mid-30s now, and there's guys that I came in with that are still in the league, and the end is not in sight. So for everybody, the hourglass travels at a different rate. But for Joe Flacco, it's been traveling at a good rate, but it's time to go home, have some beer, play some golf.
I took this one a different route. I initially meant it to be a player, but I had to say Al Michaels for this. What he's doing on Prime Video on Thursday Night Football
He's having a good time.
It's not how we want to remember you by. It used to be, so he was great in his prime when it was bad games, blowouts, that sort of thing. He would kind of flip this switch. He'd become your loose, maybe in the bag uncle. He'd start talking about gambling, like it was fun. Now, when the games got out of hand, he's like
checked out.
He's put his sleeping cap on, and he's like, I want to get out of here. It's not fun anymore.
The lavender scented eye cover that he's up there wearing. He's like, just tap me when they got the ball back.
And unfortunately, that booth is two kind of understated guys, and Herb Street doesn't really. He brings like an understated analyst edge to it. He's not the Chris Collinsworth who's like, oh my God,
here's a guy.
Yeah, he's not blasting with energy. And so it's just those, when the games turn bad, and Thursday Night Football has had some bad slates the last couple of years, he just it just doesn't work great. And we don't want to remember you like this, Al Michaels. You're a legend.
Legend.
But it's the Lee Corso Hang It Up Award.
Lee Corso, God bless him.
All right, the last one, the best one. It's the Push the Pile Award. We're giving this to a unit. Could be any. Could be a running backs. Could be wide receivers. Could be DBs. Could be D-line. The unit that kicks the most ass this year, that embodies the spirit of pushing the pile. Kyle, I'll let you start off as the man
We talked
who
about
embodies
this group
this.
earlier with Saquon Barkley that he's going to be running behind. Now, this is a group that lost the everyman's All-American Jason Kelce, the center, the keystone of this offensive line. The Philadelphia Eagles is who I'm talking about if you haven't figured it out yet. But when you got these two bookends at tackle and you re-sign a guard who's an ass kicker and likes doing cross-hatch lawn mowing on his zero turn, I got a lot of faith in that unit. I love the offensive line coach there. I think that this group will take tremendous amount of pride in guys like in proving guys like me wrong this offseason who said, I think they take a big step back. Well, you know what? Now that I've removed myself from the recency of Kelce's retirement, I can really start to see the things that they're going to try to do with Saquon, with Jalen Hurts. I think this offensive line is going to be kicking ass just like they did last year. We won't see the tush push with the same success because Jason Kelce, the bridge troll, getting under guys. We're not going to have that. But I do think the core of this offensive line is an ass-kicking core.
Well, and they added Mekhi Becton this year, who, obviously had his struggles at tackle. But at guard, they have a mammoth guard duo there, mammoth tackle duo. That O-line can just lean on people.
I hope Mekhi can stay healthy because I really like him. He's a good kid. And we all root for the health of offensive linemen, but particularly the guys that you've had connections with. I've followed him on social for a long time, and I've always rooted for him. And I think, the sky's the limit for him if he can stay healthy. And same with that Eagles offensive line.
I had a few different ways I was thinking about going with this. Jets linebackers deserve a mention. I think last year, though, if we did this, they would have won it. Hard to repeat as champs. I like the Steelers running backs, Jalen Warren, Najee Harris, two guys that run really hard. And with Arthur Smith there, they're going to get featured a ton. But I went Colts offensive line. I think this is the year, and especially when you run as many option plays as they're going to with Anthony Richardson, that gives you that +1, that makes everyone have an easier angle of attack to their block. And when you have what they have up front, Bernard Raymond, one of the most underrated players in the NFL. Quentin Nelson, obviously, we talked about him earlier. Ryan Kelly, Will Freeze, Braden Smith. That's a 5 across that is going to kick some ass this year.
Yeah, and you're only as violent and committed as your lead dog. And the lead dog in that room is one that we mentioned before. It's Quentin Nelson. And for those of you who haven't seen Quentin Nelson play the game of football, that's how God intended for it to be played. And when you see a run the damn ball hat on somebody in Indianapolis, he's the reason for the season. So they are going to run the ball a lot. And I like what you said about getting +1 with the option stuff. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch, man. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Got to stay healthy in Indianapolis.
It's going to be a lot of fun to track these awards throughout the season. We'll revisit come January when they give these out. Actually, is it February? Whenever they give them out at the NFL Honors, we'll revisit this. And that's our show for today. We'll be back next week doing a little conference previews. I think we have a little unique spin on it that we're going to try to give you guys. Not going to tell you just yet. We're going to discuss that.
I look forward to hearing about
and
that.
Get it. But until then, remember, comment, subscribe on our YouTube page, wherever you get your podcasts. Until next time, keep pushing.